Good morning, girls. I'm going to be trying something a little bit differently today, if you didn't notice by this introduction here and what's currently showing on your screen, which is the Pokemon TCG Online client. So I do have big plans for this channel, in that at 50 subscribers, I am planning to put out personalized YouTube content, like direct to YouTube, not cut from streams. And I'm still stuck to that. I still plan at 50 subscribers on this channel to start a series of videos that are entirely unique to the YouTube channel, to divorce it a bit more from the main content on our stream. However, for today I wanted to do something just a little bit differently, spice it up just a moment here, in order to jump in, fill some space as I, at the time of the video, I am not streaming tonight when I normally would be. And there are certain topics like these card games and fighting games that I really enjoy doing with everybody and showing off to everybody, but we don't always have the space in the schedule to do these every week. Like, I don't think we'll have room for Pokemon TCG Online this coming week as of recording this video. We've been playing games like Street Fighter recently as well. We're looking forward to Dear Days of card fights in November, competitive Pokemon, etc. There are certain things I really like for the channel, but they're kind of beaten up by other things that we're doing that I also really enjoy doing. So this is my sort of pulling things together goals. This is going to be my step forward to put out a little bit more content of things that I really want to do with everybody, but don't quite have this space to outside of these more tightly controlled areas. This lets me work on these days off where we're not streaming to still put out content of things that we're probably not going to see that coming streaming week, but still keep it tied in with what we've been doing or what we want to do. So today, for this impromptu, not quite stream production of Pokemon TCG Online, I'm going to be showing off a deck I have personally curated and been enjoying a lot on the Pokemon TCG Online client. So we're going to talk a bit about the cards. Hopefully this goes over well. Totally okay if it doesn't. I do want to see your thoughts below. If you liked what we're doing here, if you like this silly little spell I've put together to show off a bit more of the things that I really want to be able to show to you, even outside of our scheduled allotted T-date time slots like this. So, let's go ahead, jump in, and I hope you have a lot of fun with this. I know I will. This is my Lilligant V-Star deck. Lilligant V-Star is one of the very few grass decks that exists in the current meta of Pokemon TCG. Other decks I can think of are Trevenant from Lost Origins, as a single prize deck that kind of chokes your opponents on prize cards as well. But otherwise, it's kind of just Lilligant V-Star that's had any sort of action done. So as you can see, there aren't that many grass decks represented in the current meta of Pokemon TCG, and that's namely because they don't have a ton of support. They do have good supportive cards like Charim, like Kricketune. Flappl's very fun to use, so it doesn't necessarily need to be in a grass deck. Zaruda V is a lesser known card that I also really enjoy in a deck like this, and then obviously Lilligant V-Star as a premier grass supporter as far as V and V-Star cards are concerned, but they only really have one trainer, and that's Gardenia's Vigor. So I want to talk about Lilligant, but we're going to start with the core of the deck here, which has to be Gardenia's Vigor. This is what allows grass decks to function. Well, it's what allows Lilligant V-Star as the grass deck to function in the current game state at all, because it's energy acceleration. Gardenia's Vigor says you draw 2 cards. If you drew any cards here, which you're going to unless you're using this on an empty library, it'll attach up to 2 energy cards, grass energy, from your hand to your bench Pokemon. So this is the only form of trainer energy acceleration that grass has access to currently. And it's also the premier supporter for that reason. So it adds a little bit of card draw, which is necessary and very important, as you can draw energy off of this and then attach it to your bench. But it's also, because it's your only real form of trainer card acceleration for this deck, outside of something like Raihan, which we also have one of in this deck. They do have really good supported Pokemon cards like Charim, Elderglass, I think Rillaboom's an option, cards like that. But as far as trainer card-based energy acceleration, which is very important for most decks right now, as decks can be pretty fast and you want to be able to keep up, get your attacks off, Gardenia's Vigor is our only real option for grass decks. So I don't personally feel like Gardenia's Vigor is the savior of the universe or anything. It's an okay card, A lot of other non-grass supporters are a little bit better, but this one is really fun to use for this deck in particular because of what we have with our V-Star here. And it is kind of the savior of grass as a type line currently in Pokemon. So what we have here is our Lilligant V and V-Star engine. Lilligant V herself is actually pretty good. Normally in decks like V-Stars, you don't really care about the V too much. You're not going to really be attacking with it. It kind of just sits there for a turn before you can evolve it and use its V-Star effect or transition into a real attacker. But Lilligant V has Draw Gracefully as its first attack, which is a 0 energy, draw cards until you have 6 cards in your hand attack, which is really important for if you have a slow few turns, like your first or second turn, you still don't really have the acceleration you need, or your bench isn't quite set up. You can field this and use it sort of like Gormandai Snorlax. One less card, because Gormandai Snorlax draws you until you have 7 cards in your hand and then it ends your turn. Lilligant V only draws you until 6 cards, but it does effectively end your turn by using it as an attack. However, it has no energy cost, and it does further your game plan because you do want it on the board regardless to go into V-Star, so pretty solid card. And as you can see, we do have the alt art board here, which I'm a huge fan of. I splurged a little bit for this instead of the regular Lilligant V's. Of the heart and soul of the deck here that makes it really come together in Lilligant V-Star. So 260 HP, V-Star Pokemon, 2 prizes. Her only real attack is Parallel Spin, which is 130 damage for 3 energy, 2 grass, and a normal. You put one of those energies back into your hand, and if you do, it does 100 more damage. So this is a 230 damage attacker, not too bad. 260 with a choice belt, not really knocking out a lot of other V-Stars, but as you can see, it does hit her own HP line. Anything under 270 she's handling pretty well, and as you can see, she hits for very solid numbers. She's going to be your main attacker for most of the matches until you transition into the Shaman V that we will show off here in a moment. The real heart and soul of the Lilligant V-Star card is Star Perfume, which is her V-Star power. You can only use one of these in a match, 1 V-Star period. And hers lets you search your deck for 5 of any combination of grass Pokemon or grass energy cards. So you find with her your other Lilligant V's, V-Stars, Shaman, Kricketok, Hisuian, your Applin, your Flapple, or you can find any of your grass energy cards. So she forces your hand to be full with anything that you need for your game state. And she also sets up your Gardenia's Vigor because it gets the energies in your hand if you don't have them already, or just in case you might not draw them off of Gardenia Vigor's effects, which makes her really key for consistency, because a lot of these cards are very important. Like, we want Kricketune on the board in a lot of matchups. We want the Shaman V-Star eventually. You want to be able to have the option to set up another Lilligant V or V-Star. Maybe you have a really slow start, or you're taking a lot of damage, you want to search for the Zarita V here instead. And Applin and Flapple is just a very, very core, very strong engine piece here that adds a lot to your damage game plan, which we will also go into here in a minute. And just being able to find all of these cards as well as your grass energy, especially when it assists your Gardenia's Vigor, so it directly ties into your acceleration for this deck. Very, very, very good card. A reason I wanted to play this deck at all, and I think she is absolutely gorgeous. Really like Hisuian Lilligant V-Star's design. And as well, of course, the Hisuian Lilligant V. But there are other cards in this deck I really enjoy, so we're going to get into the rest of the core, which is going to be Shaman V and Shaman V-Star here. So this is a very simple V card that does, well, a grass energy and a normal energy. We're not really looking at Flap yet, we're looking at Revenge Blast. 60 damage plus 40 more damage for each prize card your opponent has taken. So this is your later game attacker. You've weakened your opponent with your Lilligant V-Star, they've knocked it out, you didn't really, maybe you didn't have a way to get it back, or they've taken enough prize cards with those 2 that you want to start attacking with this. As far as the V is concerned, this is hitting for 140 after your opponent's knocked out one of your V Pokemon and taken 2 prize cards. Maybe they've hit something like a Radiant Greninja or Cinccino as well. They've taken 3 by the time it knocks out your Lilligant V-Star perhaps, and then it's hitting for 180. So respectable numbers for a V, but you're pretty much always transitioning this into the V-Star anyways, which has a very similar effect here on its Revenge Blast, doing 120 instead of a 60 base with the 40 for each prize card your opponent has taken. So instead, after your Lilligant V-Star has been taken out, this is doing 200 damage, or again, if they take an additional prize card, it's doing 240 damage. They've instead gotten themselves down to 1 prize card, because obviously they can't go to 0 without winning the game there. That means they will have taken 5, which will make this attack do 200 more damage for a 322 energy attack on your Shaman V-Star. 350 with a choice belt, but so on our 250 HP attacker, we were doing 320 damage, and this is after we've already probably weakened the board a bit with our Lilligant V-Star, because you're not really going to want to use this card early. It also has a V-Star power that I find absolutely adorable and can come in handy in certain situations. Perhaps you don't need the acceleration or the such from the Lilligant V-Star's effect, which you largely want to use early mismatches, but maybe you draw really well, or you're in a very peculiar game state and you need to start healing up your bench. Star Bloom heals all of your bench grass Pokemon for 120 damage. This makes the deck even tankier than it already is in a very deceptive manner. And I'm very fond of any chance I get to use the power. It has not been often, I think maybe once. It's not while you're using Shaman V-Star, but it is very cute that it can come up. Because remember, you can only use one V-Star power a game. You're often going to use it on Lilligants. But if you have the opportunity, I think this is a really fun button to press. This leads us into the central additional damage mechanic of the deck outside of the choice belts that we're running below here, which do 30 more damage to your opponent's Pokemon V on the Pokemon that it's attached to. So, like I said earlier, it'll make Lilligant V-Star hit for 260, and it'll make Shaman hit for, I don't know, 1 billion more damage. You're already killing people with Shaman anytime that you're fielding Shaman here. But Flapple, the Gaplin here, not really the focus. It has withdrawal. I guess in a really bad situation where you have to put an energy on this and field it as your active Pokemon, you can flip a coin and see if you don't take any damage next turn. Very funny if it'll ever work out. But you're really running this card for the Flapple. Really easy to find with the other cards in our deck, and again, that Lilligant V-Star. So Flapple's point here, not the 2 attack here, but just the ability. Once during your turn, put 2 damage counters on one of your opponent's Pokemon, and if you put those damage counters, you shuffle this card back into your deck, including the Applin below it that you evolved on top of. This is really important for the deck to hit key damage numbers. This makes your Lilligant V-Star with a choice belt hitting that 260 instead do 280, which is enough to knock out pretty much every other V-Star in the game. It will help you snipe as well. Any cards in the backline that you really want to get rid of, like maybe if we can engine that they pulled back, or they just retreated a card that you already put a lot of damage on, Flapple chips away at it. Flapple adds 20 damage against V-Maxes, which you can sometimes struggle with when they have that 320, 330 HP, and you don't have like a fully built Shaman. But even then, this adds to the Shaman's 320 max damage there for 340 to knock out any of V-Maxes in a turn. It'll help Lilligant chip away at them, again that 280, and you can do it over multiple turns by recycling into other Applins, other Flapples with the cards at your disposal here. So you're just going to use this card over and over and over again in order to wean down your opponents, weather them away, while the rest of your garden overgrows. Really cool card. I think really important for damage dealings in this deck. Definitely highly suggest that if you're running this concept of Lilligant V-Star, Shaman V-Star, that you want to run Flapples as well. They're not hard to find. They're going to do a lot. Even if you only use it once or twice in a game, that's 20 additional damage. It's like a quick shooting Inteleon for a turn. Cards for this deck, a little underappreciated. We don't need to talk about the Cricket-Tot, it's just here for the Cricketune. Cricketune is huge. Cricketune gives 40 HP to your other grass Pokemon in play except for itself. So this makes your Lilligant V-Star have 300 HP. Your Shaman has 290. Zarude 250. Your Flapples even go up to 120. This is huge for your board state here. This makes you really hard to fight against from other V-Star decks, because they are not going to be hitting consistently 300 plus damage numbers. But in tried and true TCG fashion, ghouls, people are not always on the up and up or at their best when it comes to reading cards, especially their opponents, if not their own. And this plus 40 HP is going to get them. They're going to be like, why did my Ice Calyrex's spear not kill Shaman with the 250 damage? You're just sitting there with all those counters. It's because it's at 290 HP because of the Cricketune. And now even in situations where they did read it and they do understand, it's not going to make much of a difference. They can try and play around it. Some quick kinging cards like, again, quick shooting Inteleon will help for them to chip away and make up for that damage loss, but it's still really hard to hit the 300 here in most common decks that you might see, which makes Kricketune, I think, a staple for this deck. I've considered running more of them. I've considered Hisuian heavy balls in case the Cricket Talk gets put away. But in general, you're going to be okay if you can't play it early. You're just going to play a slower game and get it out of your prize cards if you do. And you don't need it every single game, of course. There's going to be games that you're a bit more dominant as well, or that you weren't going to win even with the HP difference. But 90% of games, every game I've been able to get this set up, it's been a core part of the game plan. Big fan of it, might even go to 2-2 in the future, but for now this is what we're running with. Highly recommend the Kricketune if you're playing a grass deck. DNK Ninja, all around very solid, very good card. Discard an energy during a turn, draw 2 cards. You don't use it for its attack ever in any situation, and you can't because we don't have water energy in this deck. You just use it as an ninja to draw additional cards. Same for the Cinccino here. It has a very similar effect. You discard any card in your hand to draw 2 cards. It's a little better than Radiant K Ninja in that fact, but it's also traded off by being an evolution Pokemon, so you have to have the Cinccino set up for a turn here first. And the Cinccino actually does have an ability that does come in handy on some of my worst hands, you know, our slower games, which is Call for Family, 1 energy, attack, search your deck for 2 basic Pokemon, put them onto your bench. I've had to use this way more than I ever hoped I would have to, but it does get your Lilligant V's out, it gets your Cricket Talks, your Shamans, Applins, Zarude Radiant K Ninjas, and now the Cinccino. So it actually does come in handy. It is a pre-evolution Pokemon that's worth keeping an eye on if you ever find yourself in a really perilous position. But in general, we're going into it for the Cinccino, for the discard, draw 2. Drawing is really important in this deck, obviously, because our main trainer supporter only draws 2 cards. As good as her acceleration effect is, because she only draws the 2 cards rather than the amount that you would normally want to see from trainers, you do need a bit more draw acceleration in this deck. But by late game, because of that, you're going to have huge hands and you're going to be very consistent. It's just the early part you kind of need to get over the hump there, which is why these cards like Radiant Grey Ninja and Cinccino really help, as well as Lumineon V. Search your deck for any supporter card, which are trainers like Gardenia's Vigor, Professor's Orders, Professor's Research, Raihan, and put it into your hand. Really, really good card. I only recently remembered that I could run this in this deck just because of how important hitting our Gardenia's Vigor is scores. The difference between having Gardenia's Vigor early in the game and not is gigantic. The moment you can get it set up, the rest of your game, smooth sailing. You just need to find at least 1 early in order to hit that stride. Because it's that important, Lumineon V, a card that can directly search out your Gardenia, which we have no other ways to do so, meaning that we will always have it in our hand if we can find Lumineon with some of these other effects. It's kind of just like running a 5th copy of Gardenia's Vigor, which you definitely want to do if you can. So in this situation, we are. You also have one final little tech choice here, Ghouls. Not a card you see a lot, but I really like Zarude V. Its first attack, 2 colorless energy, bind down, defending Pokemon can't retreat. This can come in handy if you're chipping away at something big and your opponent's strategy thus far has been to switch them out like escape rope, switch, retreating, just to try and keep their high HP but low remaining HP Pokemon on their bench after you've been wearing at them for a while. If you didn't have something like if you haven't had your chance to set your Applins up and you're not able to snipe it out yet, Zarude V's first attack can come in handy and a little bit further chip damage with your opponent not being able to run away from you. But the real meat of this is Jungle Rising. 2 grass energy, 100 damage, respectable, not going to be killing anybody. This isn't really so much an attacker as an additional engine piece. Put 2 basic energy cards from your hand on your bench Pokemon in any way you like. So 2 on 1, 1 on 2 of them, only 1 from your hand if you only have 1. And if you attach energy to a Pokemon with it, heal all damage. This is huge goals with Cricket Talk. It's like an alternative Shaman V-Star power, but even stronger in situations where maybe they've hit your Lilligant for 280, or like before that Ice Calyrex hit your Shaman V-Star for 250 and it's still hanging on thanks to Kricketune. You can retreat it out, have Zarude V set up probably with like Gardenia's Vigor, something like that, and maybe you just were putting energy over the first 2 turns because you didn't need anything more on your V-Star or your Shaman. So you just go in, you put in Zarude, patch an energy to Shaman, Light as Rain, back down to 0 damage, and your Zarude can die, whatever. Sorry, that's mean. I mean, it might not. It has 250 HP. It's probably going to die for that. But if they didn't kill it, even better. You can retreat it again next turn back into your fully healed Shaman here. Just a great play all around. I think it's really cute. It's come in handy about once or twice so far. It's not something you're going to use every game, but it is another early game option, especially if you end up boxing things like your Lilligant V-Star or your Shaman or something like that, or your Cricketune, and you need to play around the fact that you have a lower base HP total. You can use Sarud instead. Early game acceleration as well. It's kind of like Gardenia's in that manner. And I think any amount of relaxation this deck can take is really important, but it's also really nice just to have the option for additional healing, because like I said, you hit such high HP numbers with this deck and you whittle your opponent down over a while, thanks to cards like Flapple, you're playing a bit of a longer game in most games. Now it's our Pokemon base. I'm going to just run through the trainers right here. 2 Battle VIP Pass. Use it going first, search your deck for 2 basic Pokemon and put them onto your bench. Again, for slower opening games, it helps us set up our Lilligant V, our Cricketods, our Shamans, Sarud if we need him instead, get our Applins ready, Manchinos ready. Just finds your deck everything. Radiant Greninja. I think it's a really good card. You can pitch it later, which is Manchino, which is nice. I would play 4 of this if you had room for it, but in general, you only really need to see 1 on your first turn. Hitting 2 would be nice, but generally unnecessary thanks to things like Lilligant Vsauce, effect, or any other such cards you had. But when you draw this, going on your first turn, you're going to be appreciative that you have it in your deck, especially because this deck can be really hard if you don't have your engine pieces set up. You really need to start hitting your stride as early as possible. Evolution Essence, for a similar reason, we have it at 2 here. It just finds your V-Stars, it finds your Flapples, it finds your Cricketune, your Sunchinos. All around steady card, really reliable. I used to run a bit more, I'd cut it for some other additions we made to the deck. Again, I'm messing with the ratios here, but I'm not unhappy with the 2 of Evolution Essence, and because it hits so many things in your deck that the other cards also hit, it's just another such Level Ball, very similar. Search your deck for a Pokemon 90 HP, put it into your hand. The cool thing about Level Ball in this deck is it actually finds Cinchino, it finds Flapple, it finds Cricketune. It's like we were playing 2 more Evolution Instances here, but it also finds their pre-evolved forms. So, really big fan of Level Ball, great card. Definitely recommend running as many as you feel like you can fit in, because it finds so many of your core pieces. What matters early is definitely getting your engine set up with Cinchino, Flapple, Cricketune. I think from now you're going to be pretty good. Ordinary Rod, just to shuffle some cards back into her deck, either 2 Pokemon or 2 basic energies or both. This helps you from decking out, and especially when you start losing energy, you want to put those back into your deck. But it can find Flapples that they killed. If they knock out Cricketune, you're definitely going to want to get that back on your bench as soon as possible. Some people might be a bit more aggressive to these cards, knowing how important they can be to your deck's game plan. You can also find your 1 of Shaman V and V-Star again, because as you can see, we're not running very high ratios of our main hitters here. 2 Lilligant V-Stars, 1 Shaman V-Star, you know, a single Zarud, and then a single Cricketune. It's just, you're fitting so many little workable engines together this deck, and some tertiary cards in worst case scenarios that you don't always have the excess that you might want, which is why Ordinary Rod is really good here. Quick Ball, also really important. You search your deck for any basic Pokemon by discarding a card. Discarding a card doesn't hurt you too much here because you're going to have extras, and again we have things like Ordinary Rod, we have cards like Training Court, which is a really important stadium that's going to get an energy from our graveyard to our hand every turn, which I think is pretty important thanks to Radiant Greninja, Cinchino. You can chuck those, pick them back up. Also do it with Quick Ball though, and then you search your deck for any basic Pokemon, so you find your Applins, your Cricketods, your Shaman, your Lilligant V if you haven't yet. Do Minion, it turns Quick Ball into a Gardenia's Vigor, such also very important. Build is once per turn, search your deck for Grass Evolution Pokemon here, so again it's another Evolution Incense. You find your Cricketoons, your Flapples, your Shaman V-Stars, your Lilligant V-Stars. Just another additional piece of consistency. We run it at 2 here. We could have changed these for Evolution Instances, but because it's a repeatable effect, it can be useful over multiple turns, and it's incredible with Flapple because of the fact that it's repeatable and Flapple shuffles itself back into your deck. As long as you ever find a way to grab your Applins back, or you do just have another Applin in your hand, but you just shuffled your Flapple that was on your bench into your deck, you just grab Flapple again. It's a great recurring engine with that, with a recurring engine Pokemon. Disorders. We run 2 of this. It's kind of a staple card in the meta. You're going to see this in nearly every single deck in the game. Very, very, very few decks can afford not to run boss. You just move one of your opponent's bench Pokemon to the active. So if they try to run away from you, or if you have the damage to take something out but not their active Pokemon, you just get the clean hit there. Really important card. Obviously, I've gone on and on about Gardenia's Vigor, the card that makes this entire deck work, and the only reason that you're able to play this in the current meta. absolutely you want to add 4. You're going to want to see this card every game. Again, we want a 5th copy with Luminion V. That's as much as we can possibly fit in here. If you hit this early, you get your acceleration started, so you can get like 3 energy on a Lilligant V-Star early on, or 2 on Zarude if you're struggling a bit more. Really, really important to hit those. Clara is a card I am experimenting with a bit on my own. This is like Ordinary Rod, but instead of shuffling into your deck, it shuffles them into your hand. It doesn't shuffle them into your hand, it just puts them into your hand. I don't know, I guess you can shuffle your hand. Anyways, so you choose 2 Pokemon, 2 basic energy cards, or both, and you put them into your hand from your discard pile. Really great. Work that great in longer games. After a certain point, you're not really going to carry use Gardenia's Vigor or cards like Professor's Research or Raihan later on. Your hand's going to be huge. You're just going to have key pieces in your graveyard, or you're going to want a bit more energy. You're going to use Clara to grab them back. So this also gives you your Lilligant Beast back, your Shaman back if it's knocked out, your Cricketune back if it's knocked out. Maybe they hacked up your Flapples. Just is an incredibly high value late game piece. Really happy with it at 1 here. Could run 2, but I think the only other card we could cut forward is Ordinary Rod, which is a similar effect, and sometimes you want those cards in your deck anyways, maybe to refrain from decking out, or because you have search effects that you want to not be dead here. So they're both really good in their own right, and you can use Ordinary Rods on turn that use other supporters, whereas you can't on Clara. However, you can Ordinary Rod and Clara in the same turn, so the deck actually has a surprising amount of recursion that makes it really stable over these longer games. We have Professor's Research here, of course, at 2. Would run more copies if I felt like I could fit them. Discard your hand, draw 7 cards. A very, very good, very important staple effect here that I think, again, most decks tend to run. There are very few decks that can afford not to run Research here. It's like boss and the staple categories. Just a good way to dump a bad hand, draw again, find your game plan if you didn't hit it the first time, or perhaps even you are able to play down to 0 cards, which just turns it into a draw 7 for your supporter for the turn. Really important for hand fill. One of Raihan is a card that I am newly experimenting with. You can only play this if any of your Pokemon were knocked out. Attach a basic energy from your discard pile to your Pokemon, and then find any card in your deck and add it to your hand. Now, Raihan, I am not only messing with for the ability to search your deck for any card, which is obviously a good effect, even though you need a Pokemon knocked out, which is going to happen at some point during the game, and not too hard with how big your hands get and your draw engines to find this card when you might need it. Also, the acceleration from attaching a basic energy card from your discard pile to one of your Pokemon is absolutely huge. It's like a late game Gardenia, where maybe you don't have any more in your deck, or you can't chance not drawing into them, or you don't have any energy, but you have to set up another attacker because obviously one of them was just taken out for you to use Raihan in the first place. It lets you grab an energy from your discard pile, throw it onto your board, put another one down, bam. Shaman V-Star is all set up for that 2 energy attack. So I think Raihan is very good for that reason. It's a bit situational. I do tend to pitch this card early if I see it in my hand with effects like Minchino or Quick Ball, because you're not going to have a chance to use it before you have to reset your hand at some point anyways. However, seeing this card late, very good. Like I said, it's like an alternative Gardenia after you've already drawn a lot, or you've lost a lot of energy, which you will have lost energy, and you will want to set up another attacker, thanks to the fact that a card has to be knocked out to use this. So the card feeds into itself really well. Highly recommend it. Definitely want to mess around with the ratios a little between him, Clara. Not really any other trainers I want to change too much. I like the pure boss. I don't really feel like we need more than the 2 research despite how good it is, because we're going to want to hit those Gardenias, and I think the additional acceleration on Raihan and the recursion of Clara is really important for what this deck can do. Now we have 2 Air Balloon here. A very standard card, another meta staple. Retreat cost a Pokemon is attached to costs 2 colorless less. This makes every retreat cost in your deck completely free, so you don't have to worry about anything getting stuck in the active spots. Can throw this down on something like a Shaman Visa, swap it in or out, especially if they put it in and try and knock it out early. Really good with effects like Shaman Visa's healing ability or Zarude's healing ability on your bench. Also, Gardenia only attaches to your bench Pokemon, so you're going to be retreating around a lot in your deck. It's kind of like a dance in that way. So the air balloon, very, very important. I don't think you ever need more than 2, because you can't attach anything else onto your Pokemon after you have the air balloon on them, so you can't also put choice belt on. 2 is probably good enough. I've never really had any problems, and most of your Chicos are only 1 energy in very dire straits anyway, so it's just a free way that you don't have to sacrifice energy on to start doing your little dance about the board here, and then set up your energy acceleration or your healing. We have 2 choice belt Also kind of an important card, do 30 more damage to your opponent's active E Pokemon. Then you can have this on the same Pokemon you have Avalon on, so this is more of your standard attacker. You see this on your Lilligant V-Stars a lot, or if you ever needed to move around your Shaman, you can put it on your Shaman late game. It's hitting for absolutely absurd numbers with its Revenge Blast attack. So Trade Spot's also really important unless it's like hit higher damage ceilings along with Flapple, which is kind of important for a deck that's otherwise hitting, you know, good numbers but not max V-Star V-Max numbers. Would not trade this card out for anything. Now for energies, we're running 10 grass energy. I think this is a good ratio. I was running with 9 for a while. I wanted just one more. I think I used to run 2 ordinary rods before I put in a Clara as well. I think just having a bit more energy options, especially to draw off Gardenias in worst case scenarios, and keeping Zorid V's ability active, it's good. You're going to search through most of your deck, you're going to draw a lot, you're going to pitch a lot of energies for like Radiant Grey Ninjas and Chino, get them back with training courts. So they're not really dead cards often. You want to see your energy cards in this deck pretty early. And sometimes maybe you'll restart. I've never restarted for 5 grass energy before, but I've definitely done it for 4, where I have my grass Pokemon engine set up. I didn't have any energy in my hand and I really didn't want to miss them. So because the V-Star can find you grass energies, I think 10 is a good ratio, as well as the 2 capture energy. Capture energy catches, provides colorless, lets you grab any basic Pokemon from your deck and put it onto your bench. So it's like a battle VIP pass. It's like a Minccino attack, and often on really poor openers, I open Minccino in this and almost nothing else. You can field Minccino as your active Pokemon, attach the capture energy to it, and then it pulls in from your deck another bench Pokemon, and then Minccino activates, pulls in 2 more. You have a full setup now. You have Lilligant V, you have Kricketot, you have Applin, or maybe you have Lilligant V, Zarude, Shaman, Lilligant, Kricketot, etc. Whatever you feel like you need for that situation, this combo is pretty good for that. But in general, just grabbing one of your basics here, obviously they're so important to the deck. The 2 capture energy is really good. And all of our attacks do have a colorless cost in them outside of Zeridivi's Jungle Rising, so you don't really lose anything by not having that 3rd grass energy or that 2nd grass energy on these Pokemon. And again, it lets you use Minccino's Call for Family, and most of our retreat costs are once more only a single pip here, so you can use capture energy to pay for it. Pretty solid all in all. Really been enjoying this deck. I hope you enjoyed the explanation and the experimenting with. Again, I'm still messing on the ratios. I've been changing things on this deck constantly. Every day I will swap like a card out, 2 cards out, but I'm really happy with about where it's sitting right now despite the low amount of primary attackers. I feel like we have a lot of surge, acceleration, and means to find them, and then we have really strong backline support and things like Kricketune and Flapple, so I think we're doing pretty well here. Hope I can show that off to you today.